Hey there, it's Lokazi. Been a while since I casted a video. Here I have a Terran vs Terran. I'm playing the red Terran in the bottom left versus Alias, the blue Terran in the top right. Now I noticed looking through replays and stuff like that I have no Terran vs Terran videos up. So I decided to correct that problem today. I think I have 2 or 3 Terran vs Terran replays I'm going to show here. This first one is on Blistering Sands. And I do not remember what I do. I think I'm doing Banshees in this one, which is a lot of what Terran vs. Terran is broken down into, to be honest. A lot of it is defend the front of your base with, 1 or 2 bunkers filled with Marines and a siege tank, and go straight for Banshees and see how much harassment you can get in and how much you can really mess with them, because the only way they can really defend against Banshees at the beginning of the game, tell a Raven that is with Comstat, which forces them to waste minerals, putting you, the Terran with the Banshees, further ahead, or with missile turrets, which you can 2-shot an SCV with the Banshee. So all you have to do is just have a little bit of micro, and you will have them waste 5 to 10 SCVs trying to just build one missile turret. So until you run out of energy and they kill you with Marines, pretty much. And if you focus fire the Marines, if they're not in a bunker, you can deal some pretty hefty damage with just 1 or 2 Banshees, which I think that in this replay I am going to use Banshees. Now on this map, more so than a few other maps, there's a pretty good amount of dead space around each side of the player's base, so Banshee harassment is very viable. Banshee harassment, of course, Day 9 did a, I don't know, I don't really watch Day 9, but I believe it's called like his, crazy strategy Tuesday something. I don't know what it's called. Anyway, what he did is he talked about how a lot of players are using Banshees, and I guess he rants about how much he doesn't like Banshees a lot, with things like, oh, here comes Banshee preparing to get its infinite kills. So I would have to agree with him. Banshees are pretty ridiculous, and Terran vs. Terran and Terran vs. Zerg, they can deal a hefty amount of damage with no real, it acquires some tech, it's 200 gas, 200 minerals, but the units themselves are not bad. You can put them behind an MMM ball and they'll deal decent damage. Now, I've gone ahead and thrown a supply depot up here instead of getting my racks there at the front, or I'm sorry, my tech lab here at the front, and I did 16 orbital command. That's just finished. And I have scouted the other Terran player a little bit. I've moved my my barracks back, because versus another Terran, it doesn't really behoove you to have the barracks at the front, because it's just more stuff they can shoot down. Now, I have scouted a good amount of his base right now. I'm rolling in, seeing what I'm seeing. I see that he's going for a fairly similar build compared to me, so I'm in a pretty good position. Marine picking off his scout here in the bottom right. And I'm starting research on stims. I always, I pretty much always go stim right off the bat. Even if the game is finished with just the Banshees, it's still good to have stim there, just in case there's some type of push you need to hold off, and you can stim in bunkers. It's great. Stim is the greatest move ever. You should research it as soon as possible every time, because it does take 1:40 to finish, or I'm sorry, 140 seconds, which is actually 2 minutes and 20 seconds to finish. So it does take a good amount of time to finish, so you really want to be researching it. And a lot of my games have, and here I'm researching concussive shells, a lot of my Terran vs. Terran games, after the Banshee harassment, after you get turrets up to defend it, etc., have broken down to siege tanks and bioball versus siege tanks and bioball. And a lot of what wins that is Marauders. So I'm going for concussive here right off the bat, after, well, I guess not right off the bat, after Stimpack has started researching, here on my second tech lab. So it'll be ready for when I decide to push. Now I'm going to try a Banshee harass as much as possible, but then I'm going to go into this bioball I was talking about. Maybe I'm not going to Banshee harass in this one. I've done all that talking about Banshee harass. We'll see. Maybe I'm just going to push with all these. I can't remember what game this was. It looks like I'm just going to head across the map with this. Look at me, being gutsy. Now this is what we would call a 5 Marauder push, and it works extremely well versus other Terrans who go any type of tech build. And when I scouted him, I scouted that he didn't really have that much. He had 1 barracks, so I knew, and I think he had a factory when I scouted him last. Let me check here really fast. Yeah. I saw Starport going down. I saw the 1-1-1 build. So I'm going to go ahead and push across with this. Now this is why it's important to research stim, because I could have gone for a tech, or I could have just, oh, he sees me coming. I could have gone for a tech, but instead I'm just going to push with 5 Marauders and 2 Marines. Now I move up my Marauders as much as possible, pick off that siege tank before it gets siege range. And it looks like he fights me off a bit here. He does lose some SCVs, but I have 2 more Marauders come in. I took out his siege tank, I took out his Marine. Now he has the siege tank sieging on the hill right now, but it quickly gets ripped down by those Marauders, only taking 2 shots from that. He's going to move a Viking in, and it's going to die almost instantly. The Marine chasing it down. And meanwhile, I have all of my new units rallied across the map, including 2 Marauders and 1 Marine every single push. I'm going to take down this tech lab, so he can't build any more siege tanks. All he can build right now are Marines and Hellions. That's going to do nothing versus these Marauders. Now quickly switching my focus fire to that Viking, which he has swapped out, or he did repair, that is. Taking out the last that siege tank there, but his economy is really taking a hit. He's throwing on 2 new tech labs, trying to see what he can do. Meanwhile, I have a Marine here harassing as much as possible with more units on the way. Now back in my base, I haven't really developed that much more. I'm throwing down a factory right now and macroing up a tiny bit, but I know I've gotten him in a good position. And it was worth it to lose the macro to micro these units, especially because he was sending so many of his SCVs at me. I needed to make sure to be attacking the proper units, unless I would have come out losing on most of those battles. I think he's going to call GG here in a second. New Viking out. It's getting chased off. Done a little bit of kiting here as much as possible, reducing the damage on my Marines. Taking out this new tech lab that finished on the barracks. My other units are kind of sitting unrallied down there. Not exactly the best micro by me, but the game is over. I kind of expected him to call GG here now that I'm remembering this game. And a GG is called and he leaves. Now, it's important to realize what's important in Terran vs. Terran, and that is scouting. Terran vs. Terran can turn into the Banshee that I was talking about for the entire first part of this cast, thinking that this was a Banshee game, which it wasn't. My apologies. But I have another one coming up. I'm 90% sure I saved one of my Banshee replays. And now it's really important to scan the other Terran. A lot of Terrans will be like, no, don't waste your scan, man. Just keep orbital commanding, call down Mule. Just keep up on minerals, pump out Marines. Whatever he pushes with, you're going to be able to counter it, at least in the first push of the game, and fast expand. Try and hold on to it and harass with Banshees, put some siege tanks up. That's good, solid advice. But as you can see here, just a few, 5 Marauders and 2 Marines reinforced over and over again, with 2 Marauders and 1 Marine just constantly flowing across the map, totally destroys a 1-1-1 build. He couldn't do anything. He had to keep throwing his SCVs at me, which isn't going to win you a fight. It's kind of a last-ditch effort, and he had to throw it at me 3 or 4 times to try and hold me off, and it didn't work out for him. So it's really important to use one of your scans or get in here with an SCV and scout it out as soon as possible. Now, I had my barracks guarding the front of my base, so he couldn't scout as much as possible. He did get in because I lifted it, and he ran by with the SCV past the Marine. But if you keep it blocked off, they're not going to be able to scout. They're going to have to waste a comm stat, which is good for you, because they're going to have to waste that, 280 resources that a Mule effectively brings, and it ignores saturation. So it's really good to try and force a comm stat out of the other player. Most importantly, you need to comm stat if you don't know what he has. You need to figure it out. You need to push when you discover a weakness like this. And I'm going to go ahead and stop this one, and I'll be back in a minute with another one.